What's up guys, it's Teletubby Terror here, and today I wanted to go over some of the good things and bad things for the new expansion for Mount & Blade Warband, Viking Conquest. I'm personally a huge fan of Mount & Blade, and when I saw they came out with the new expansion pack, I was ecstatic. But I was wondering the same thing you guys are probably wondering. $13? In the grand scheme of things, no. $13, $15 isn't really that much, but considering the game itself is $20, this better be one heck of an expansion. And while there is enough land to be played for a long time, and don't get me wrong, the campaign map is huge, easily twice the size of the standard map Calradia. I'm sorry if I just butchered that, and I know I probably did. But the campaign is set in England, and there's many more factions than the standard game, which is a big plus. But it's just a map. Anyone can make a map. There's already hundreds of mods out there with giant maps and many factions, and so what it really comes down to is what the content of this expansion is actually like. And they do have a lot of new content. I think two of the main things they're focusing on are religion and naval combat, which are definitely apparent in the game, but I'm not sure they play out as well as everyone hopes. First off, there's only two religions to choose from, paganism and Christianity. Which is, I mean, it's better than zero, but they don't really do too much in-game. I really don't have much to say about it, because it really just does that little. The only time it ever really came into play was if my troops would help me raid a monastery or not. And occasionally, my reputation with another lord from a different religion would go down over time, just because we were different religions. But overall, whatever you choose, it really shouldn't affect your playstyle too much. If you want to just raid and plunder like a true Viking, you can, and religion shouldn't affect you too much either way. And you can convert anytime you want to anyway. You just have to find a priest at one of the head towns and talk to him, and you're good. Another one of the main features about this expansion pack is the naval combat. Of course there's naval travel, but what about the actual combat? In my opinion, And that's really all I can give it, is an The controls are pretty buggy. I was finding it not hard, but I couldn't get the ship to go where I wanted it when I wanted it to. And there's no cannons or anything aboard the ship, so you're gonna have to rely on archers to do any sort of ranged. And boarding ships is just awful. You go up next to a ship and it automatically moves your ship to a position where you're allowed to go across and battle the guys on the other ship. But the problem with this is that you can't actually see the pathway you're supposed to take. It's just a narrow line in the middle of the ship where your guy is allowed to step across. And this can create some problems. The biggest of all being the computers. They always swarm for that one narrow region and you can't get across. And considering that the ship you start out with, at least on campaign, is so skinny that you can't actually move around the ship. You have to stay in the back and watch your guys die to the sword before you can step in and do anything about it. And also, when you're done killing everyone on that ship, your guys just take control of one of the ships and sail off without you. I just don't know what they were thinking. Now, even though they sail off without you, you can still pilot the other ship. It just might go really slowly because you're the only one on board. But the real reason this is a problem is because when there's multiple ships on the battlefield, everyone is going to go towards you. And so all the enemies are going to board next to you. And there's no animations, there's no ropes or anything. The ships just go right next to each other and you can't tell when they're boarded or when they're just sailing around. And this can create problems. When you're trying to get back on your own ship, sometimes you can't because your computers have taken over and they're trying to sail away. But they can't because they're stuck on another ship, but they're not actually boarded to anything. And so no one can get across anywhere and you're stuck on that ship and you can't go anywhere. And then the battle just drags out for way longer than it needs to be, and it really takes away from the experience. I really have to say that even though naval combat is the biggest appeal to buy this expansion pack, it might be, and I'm not going to say the worst thing, but at least the least polished. The controls combined with the computer's intelligence really just need some work overall. Okay, I know I've been sounding negative this whole time, but I still really like this expansion. The first time you walk into a city, it's amazing. You see kids running around, you see horses doing things that horses do, and the city just feels so alive. It's so much better than the original towns. Those were, they were, pretty basic. All there was just a couple buildings, and then a dude standing in the center of those buildings, and you talk to him. But now, it really just feels alive. The town is just bustling with activity. And now also, you can see all that activity from the menu screen. The menu screen now shows you where in the town you're looking, so if you click the tavern, it'll actually zoom into the building where the tavern is. So if you want to roleplay that much, you can. And the multiplayer is also really fun. Everyone I encountered was getting pretty into it. Something I've noticed over all the Mount & Blade games is that the community is generally a lot nicer than what you'd imagine. Normally what I think of when I think of other online gamers is that of a stereotypical COD player, a screaming 12-year-old kid. But that isn't true for this game at all. The majority of players I came across were actually trying to be nice and helpful, which is actually pretty cool and something that you rarely see. And if you're looking for more of that style of gameplay, this expansion definitely has what you're looking for. My personal favorite game mode was Viking Assault, where you couldn't play as the Vikings themselves, but rather who they were invading. In this game mode, you and a bunch of other players were pitched against computers that were trying to raid your village and assault your castle. There were no crazy twists or anything like that, but the way Mount & Blade was made lends itself perfectly to strategizing with your team, and you get these moments that simply don't happen in other video games. And one thing I have to mention before I give my final thoughts, if you want to play any of the single player, whether you want to play through the story or not, it's almost necessary to play the campaign if you want to have any fun. I don't know why they made this a feature, but now you have to get permission from the town elder to recruit anyone. I kind of see why they did this, because they wanted to make it so that once you're in a kingdom, you can't just walk around the other kingdom recruiting your enemies, but it plays out so badly in practice. If I were to suggest one thing to change, it would definitely be this. You have to do 3, maybe even 4 tasks for the town elder before he even considers letting you hire the lowest grade troops, and even then it's only a couple. And it's random how long it takes for you to be able to do another task for it. It could be one day, or you might not ever be given another task again. The reason I say play campaign is because in the first couple missions, you're given the right to recruit troops, at least in that one kingdom. And if you don't want to follow any of the other story missions after that, you don't have to, but at least you have the right to maintain an army. But overall, I'd say if you're any fan of Mount & Blade, I would highly suggest getting this expansion. As janky as a single player may be, Mount & Blade is all about making your own destiny. And I had tons of fun playing as a Viking and riding along the coast raiding monasteries. And the multiplayer adds some new fun game modes as well. But $13 is still kind of asking a lot for this, so if you are not completely sure that you're a big fan of Mount & Blade, I might hold off and play for a little bit longer before you make any final decisions. But so yeah guys, I guess that about wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed, remember to leave a rate and subscribe, and let me know what you guys are going to do down below. Do you think it's totally worth its money? Or do you think it's a huge rip-off and waste of time? Either way, let me know down below. This is Untitled Chapter, and I'll see you next time.